All right, so moving things along here. So now we're going to look at statuses and lead flow. So in the last video, we focused on what to do each day and the filters that help us prioritize your work in our run the day video. Now in this video, we're going to focus on how leads move through the system and what each status actually means. Right? How do we categorize our leads here? So statuses answer three questions. Where does this lead belong? Who owns the next action? What should happen next? Once you understand the flow from new to qualify, qualify to active, active to watch, and beyond, right? The rest of the system starts to make a lot more sense. So let's jump into categories. So starting with our agent managed. This is going to be our active and our prime, right? When it leads in active or prime, you own the outreach, right? You're 100% control of everything. Calls, text, emails, tasks, decisions about next steps. Never going to touch your active or your prime. System managed, these engagement statuses we like to call them, are new, qualify, and watch. These are leads that are enrolled in action plans. We've got automated emails and text messages. We've got automations tracking activity, populating in smart filters based off of priority behaviorals, right, for opportunity to engage. This is what the Lead Connect system is really wrapped around. And then we have our transactional and system or organizational statuses. This is going to be your archived, your closed, your pending, your do not contact, your junk. These are important statuses, of course, for, used to organize the database, but the system is hands off with these. Now, we do have action plans and tools to help support things like past clients and your SOI or your sphere. We have quarterly check-in plans. We have home suite referral plans. We have home anniversary reminders, stuff like that. But that's something you would have to manually apply. Now, jumping into status definitions, starting with those agent statuses, we're going to get into active. All right. So now, if there's one status I want you to understand from this video more than others, is going to be the active. So this is what we call our two-way that status. That means conversation is happening. The lead is engaged, right? We've made contact. And I'm going to circle back to our flow here. Boom, right here. So, right, when it leads a new qualifier watch, and we get a response or a conversation is started, and that happens by response to an email, response to a text, or we log a call as talk to lead, the contact's going to automatically move into active, and we call that the agent handoff. The reason is everything turns off on the system side. Ball is now in your court, you take over from here. Now, but with the active status, the goal is to qualify, verify, gather the information we need to figure out, okay, what status are they moving into next? A lead does not stay inactive for very long, max 5 to 7 days at most, right? At that point, we're asking questions, we're gathering information. Is this a junk, a do not contact, a prime, or a watch? And we want to get it into the next status as soon as possible. While it's sitting inactive, it's all you. So if you're not engaging, if you're not having conversations, then that lead is just sitting there. Engagement statuses. So new, qualify, and watch. All right, new leads. These are brand new leads in the system. No contacts made yet, whether they registered on the website, third-party lead source, you manually added them. They're brand new, and we have not communicated with them yet, right? We prioritize them in our 30-day priority follow-up window with our PLA new filter and our new connect filter. Qualify. Qualifies for our unresponsives. These are leads that have never replied, or at some point they could have responded, but the conversation didn't go anywhere. Maybe the conversation stalled out, they ghosted us, maybe we're reactivating them. But we're looking at qualify the blue. These are our unresponsive leads. And then we have our watch, all right? So watch is our relationship status. This is where long-term nurture is happening. We've made contact, we've had a conversation. That's the important part, but their time frame is in the future. So now we run based off tag time frames, which we'll go through too as well on another video here. But we've got 3 to 6, 6 to 12, 12 plus, and no time frame. So that helps us nurture them for however long we need to until they're ready to buy or sell. Now, next, our transactional and system statuses. So archived are for leads that are currently not in any kind of follow-up workflow, right? Past clients, friends, family, neighbors, SOI, your sphere, just people that you want to have in the system. Maybe you've got them on a marker report. You send them a card every Christmas. So they're not actively in a buying or selling conversation at the moment. So archived is what I call safe space status. The system will never touch an archive lead. All right, junk, this is our bad data. These are our spam leads. These are our bots. These are, other agents, stuff like that, right? People that we want to remove from the system. Then we have our do not contact. These are people that have explicitly said, hey, do not contact me, whether that was phone, text, or email, right? Move them to do not contact, kills them from all the workflows. Close, this one you guys know pretty well. Close, deal complete, move them into close it out. Pending, right? We're under contract, not quite to that closed yet. So 5 total transaction statuses. None of these trigger automations. They're there just to organize the database and feed your pipeline. All right, so now what we're going to jump into is the workflow. All right, so it's really important to understand how a lead moves through the different statuses. We have a lot of automatic updates in here for you. So let's start with that new status. Now, lead registers on the website. Let's take a buyer lead for an example. They sign up because they want to take a look at a particular listing, right? They come into the system. The action plan is going to kick off right away. So those emails and texts start going out. We keep a lead in new for the first 30 days. Again, that's what we call that priority follow-up window. We've got emails and texts going out. We're making calls as we run through our smart filters, run the day we covered in the last video here. Now, if we don't make contact in that first 30 days, what's going to happen is the system is then going to move that lead into qualify day 31. Now, when it moves to qualify, it's also going to sign a new action plan. So we're going to keep that communication going. We're just going to drop the priority level a little bit there. But that lead will stay in qualify and on an action plan until contact is made or they get updated to a junk or do not contact or unsubscribe. Now, when contact is made, so when we do get a response, so response to an email, response to a text, or we connect on the phone and we log that call as talk to lead, that's when the system initiates the agent handoff. So it's going to move that lead into active. Everything's going to pause. You're going to take over. We dive in. We're qualifying. Our main goal here is to identify, is this a junk lead, a do not contact, a watch, or a prime? Now, if we move it to junk or do not contact, it's going to take it out of the workflow. There's no automations around those two statuses. So if we've had any type of positive conversation, two outcomes here. You maintain 100% responsibility. If it's a watch lead, we're going to put it back into the system managed status category. We're going to have action plans applied automatically. We've got the behavioral tracking and watch so that you can focus on the actives and the primes. Now, for our watch status, we've got some options for you. Now, we've got another video that is a full deep dive into these. All right, so when it's time to use watch, right, we've had a conversation with the buyer or seller, and their time frame is in the future. We want to get them into the right workflow. Now, we're not just going to update the status to watch. We're going to use our watch time frame based tags. Now, we've got a whole nother video with a deep dive on this, so you can take a look at it. It's actually next in the workflow here. But I want to make sure we cover this since it's an important step in this flow. We've got 4 time frames: 3 to 6 months, 6 to 12 months, 12 plus, and then we have no time frame. So these plans set everything up moving forward. Updates the action plan, it assigns the status, it sets the behavioral tracking, right? What type of activity qualifies for your attention. So it's important to be intentional with everything when we get into the watch nurture. So, a 3 to 6 month plan, they're going to get contacted about every 21 days or so. Whereas with the no time frame, we're every 60 days or so. So it's all tied into the time frame tag. And then when it comes to the behaviorals, our priority lead alerts, which we mentioned before in other videos, when a lead saves a property, views a listing, returns to the site, what qualifies for a task is different based off the time frame tag. Leads at 3 to 6 months out, they view a listing 2 to 3 times. We want to know about that. But we get into the no time frame, we got a lot of looky-loos. So it's not going to task you every time a lead views a property or saves a property. Now, if they do anything outside of their normal behavior, then absolutely, it's going to let you know. It's going to populate for you in your PLA active filter, and you can take action from there. The most important thing to remember is that statuses aren't just labels. They determine ownership, follow-up, expectations, and how the system supports the lead moving forward. So if you're unsure where a lead belongs, just focus on one question: what should happen next? That answer usually points you to the correct status. In the next lesson, we're going to take a closer look at tags and workflow triggers, how they're used throughout Lead Connect, and the role that they play in automations and the management of your leads. So as always, if you need help with anything, you have any questions, reach out to our team. We'd be happy to help. Support@bluedoor.co. Thanks. See you on the next one.